is set for how that can safely be done. The only thing more important than getting this done quickly is getting it done safely.
Mr. Secretary, what did you see out there?
Steve, we're going to Gabrielle next.
What did you see out there?
Well, we saw not just obviously the physical condition of the bridge, but the effect that that's having on the community. We could see it looking out the window as the plane came in last night, the backup leading up to I-95. We saw it as I was meeting with East Providence Mayor De Silva, hearing about the impact on small businesses. So it's not just about the physical road. We saw what's going on with the beam. We saw what's going on with the need to stabilize the structure, the unique cantilever structure that led to this situation in the first place. But what this is really about is not the concrete and steel. It's about everybody who counts on it.
Over the last several years, millions and millions of dollars in federal funding has been wasted on repair work for a bridge that now needs to be demolished. And last week, the governor even admitted the state should have known 5 years ago that a new bridge was in order. So how confident do you feel in now giving more money to the state, and how do you make sure money for this project now isn't wasted again?
Well, I disagree that spending money to repair a bridge is a waste of money, and I would note that if that repair project were not undertaken, the inspections that caught this potentially deadly flaw would not have happened, and there is a very real risk that residents would have found out through a collapse, when instead it was found out through an inspection. We're always working to make sure that federal dollars are used to both repair what can be repaired and to replace what must be replaced. And when you look at the $1.5 billion and counting that has come to Rhode Island through the bipartisan infrastructure law, thanks largely to the support of the congressional delegation, the senators and members of Congress who fought so hard to get that funding, we see very much clear and present examples of how urgent it is to keep that funding moving and to put it to work for residents.
But the state said...
We're going to go to Patrick and Olivia, and then Kate, and that's a wrap.
Completely blocking our cameras.
That's all right. Recoup any of those millions that were spent on this bridge that will end up having to be torn down?
So some of those funds are being repurposed because, of course, what was originally scoped to be part of a rehabilitation now is more urgently needed for deconstruction and a reconstruction. And again, our goal is to make sure that we meet all of the requirements for how federal taxpayer dollars need to be used, which is a rigorous standard, without allowing that to turn into red tape that could somehow slow the project down. But these are exactly the kinds of things that our Federal Highway Administration is working hand in glove with the Rhode Island DOT to get done, so that everybody can have their routines back, their commutes back, their neighborhoods and their businesses back to normal.
But what about those funds that have already been spent?
I'd have to refer you to legal teams on all of the ins and outs of how those funds get spent and repurposed. But what I can tell you for sure is our objective here is not to take funding away from Rhode Island, is to make sure Rhode Island is getting the funding that it needs to meet this acute issue and all of the other projects that still need to be done. We're supporting the Tell Bridge, of course. We're supporting the Greenways work that's happening. We're approaching the $2 billion mark in terms of funds that are clearly urgently needed for an infrastructure backlog that didn't happen overnight, but really took 40 years or more to develop.
All right, we're back here to Olivia.
What other levers can the federal government pull in order to help speed up this process? I mean, in other bridges in Minneapolis in 2007, we saw just a year and 6 weeks that it took to repair that bridge.
Yeah, every case, of course, is different, but one of the things we found is that you can find through good, strong engineering work and policy work, you can find things that can mitigate the impact along the way. For example, the determination that it would be possible safely to have 3 lanes each way instead of 2 lanes each way, which I understand should be in place by the end of next month, is something that can bring a measure of relief, even if it's going to take longer to completely remove and replace the bridge. But these are exactly the kinds of solutions that the mayors, the senators, and the congressmen from this area and the governor have been approaching us about from day one, and we're committed to working with Rhode Island officials every step of the way. Anytime we can find any way to safely and responsibly accelerate this replacement, we're going to do it.
Do you have a message for the people of Rhode Island?
And then last question to Kate.
Secretary, thank you. Do you think it could take longer than 2026 to get the bridge back open?
I think it needs to happen as quickly as it safely can. I'll defer to engineers for the finer points of the technical estimates, but what I know is anytime we can tear an obstacle down, we're going to do it.
That's an optimistic estimate, I guess, is my question.
How's that?
Is 2026 an optimistic estimate in your mind?
I think it's an aggressive estimate that needs to be met, and we're going to do everything we can to help make that reality.
Last question to Kate.
Secretary, as you know, Rhode Islanders, some of them are saying they might not be able to survive this, especially from small businesses. Where does the responsibility ultimately lie from the U.S. DOT, from the Federal Highway Administration to the Rhode Island government, the failure of this bridge? Who's ultimately responsible for this, Secretary?
Well, I wish I could have a conversation with some of the people who came up with this design in the 1960s that appears to be the only one of its kind in the country, even compared to the other span of this same bridge. But what we know is none of those people are here today.
But it comes
We're
down
here
to what
today
it
to deal with
happens,
this,
the inspections.
Sorry, I was.
I'm
in
sorry,
the middle
but
of
it
my
was the
answer.
failure of the inspections, not the failure of the design of the bridge per se.
Actually, I'm very concerned about the design of the bridge, and it's why we've put word out to any other bridge in the country. We don't think there are any other that have this unique combination of design qualities, but if there are, they're going to have to figure out a way to inspect what would otherwise be obscured. Again, lives were saved by the inspection that found this issue so that it could be addressed through construction rather than after something bad happened. But what we most know is that our responsibility is to work together to make sure that Rhode Island has everything they need, and we're going to work closely side by side, whether we're talking about the technical dimensions, whether we're talking about the funding that's needed, or tearing down administrative barriers with all of the parties on the ground here, the state, the delegation, local leaders, to mitigate the impacts and get things back to normal.
But it
All right,
wasn't an
last question,
inspection
we're going to
that.
Steve, and then it's a wrap.
Do you have a
Thanks, guys.
message for the people of Rhode Island?
First and foremost, that I see how much of an impact this is having on you, and you know, I've heard it. I've heard it from your senators, your congressmen, your mayors, your governors. But you know, to really be here, to see the cars backed up, even just when we were getting ready to get on the plane at the airport in Washington, people coming up to me, people saying, "Oh, here comes the secretary. You know how important this bridge is to us." So we recognize the impact this is having on so many people. I'm hearing stories that are going right to my heart about families having to reconsider what school their kids are in because of the impact that the change in their commute time has had on their daily life. This is exactly why these unglamorous subjects like transportation matter so much. It's exactly why the administration fought so hard to get this infrastructure package done, and it's exactly why I'm here today to make sure we have the clearest possible understanding of the effect it's having and on the way forward. We're not going to rest until we've done everything we can to help get things back to normal.
Great. Thank you.
you.
More
Thank you.
questions at the Greenway?
Thank you.
Please
Thank
come
you, Mrs.
join us at the groundbreaking.